Welcome to the program on getting her back. I would like to thank you for the trust because it is not an easy step to trust somebody online and to invest your money and time into someone's educational course. This is a result of more than 10 years of helping people getting their loved one back, particularly getting your wife or your girlfriend back. Sometimes when I say girlfriend or wife, I mean the woman you love. It's the same process. The stamp in the passport that says that you're married or not is not as important and what happens internally, because the key to getting her back is getting her love back. So that's the real deal. That's how this actually works. And as you have seen in the previous video, which I'm sure you watched, about this course and what can it do for you, we're going to use all methods of accessing her to invoke those feelings of love that she used to feel to you. Now, you can see them from two different perspectives. You can see them as a romantic feeling, the feeling of love, the feeling of passion and desire, because that's probably the language she uses. I used to love you, but I don't love you anymore. Or I thought I loved you, but I don't love you. That's her language. We can use the language of science, where we say she had an association of seeing you, feeling your touch, and sensing the smell of your skin with a strong release of oxytocin, endorphin, and other hormones that created that strong feeling. And she formed a connection, and we can even say addiction, to feeling those feelings to you. And this is what people call love, and evolutionary that happens so we can bond with each other. And that's how people get into a couple, because if you look at the history of human beings, we are in most cultures monogamous and long-term monogamous. So the way evolution structured us is to form a long-term monogamous connection. And this is what we're going to recreate. And those processes are more predictable than we think in our cultures. So when we use the romantic language of love, love is fleeting, it comes and goes, etc. When we talk about invoking certain hormonal experiences and connecting them to a specific person, we can see how much it's done in advertising, in marketing, branding, in political campaigns, and they have a much harder task, because in their particular case, they don't interact with one person, they interact with huge crowds, and they don't see the person. They have just a vague idea of who the person is, and they still are able to make certain feelings towards politician, people, or towards a certain brand, and it still works, right? Your task is easier in two regards. One, that person, the woman you love, the girl that you want to get back, already experienced those feelings towards you. So in a way, we're not recreating them from scratch. We're accessing a memory, something that already happened in her life. So that's the good news. Another good news is that since you're connecting not with an abstract person, but with a very specific person, you know a lot about her, and all the instruction I will give you will have an adaptation, will have a version, so you can change what I recommend that you say, or what I recommend that you write, towards how she is and how your connection to her is. But before we even begin, it's very important not to only do right things, but also to stop doing wrong things. So in this part of the course, before we even begin writing to her or talking to her, we need to make sure you stop doing certain mistakes. And those are mistakes of what you do, but also mistakes of what you think, because our thinking gets in the way. One of the things that really gets in the way of us when we want to get her back is believing her words about her own feelings. For example, if she says, I never loved you, even though you remember that clearly she did and she said that she does, or I will never love you again. The reality is that people, especially when they experience strong emotion, let's say at the moment when she was saying that, she was angry at you, or she wanted to avenge certain pain that she experienced, or she felt pain, or something of the sort. At this moment, the sensation is so strong that people start speaking very maximalist language and they even believe it. But that's an illusion. People think that if right now I don't feel any love to you, but I'm so angry, that means I never loved you. What it just says sounds like total unreasonable nonsense. If I now experience very strong anger towards you, that means I never loved you. When you think with our mind, it's a complete nonsense, but that's how feelings work. If somebody has a very strong feeling, they start thinking that this will be forever, right? So all she really experiences is that she doesn't love you at this moment, but her conviction is so strong, so she says things like never, I have never loved you, I will never love you again, all those things. Okay, nobody knows what they will feel or what they'll experience in the future. Nobody has that crystal ball. Feelings of people, emotions of people are very, very flexible, much more flexible than we can imagine. And it is demonstrated. If, let's say, you take a person who is not religious and you put them in a certain cult, let's say you surround them with only cult members for a year. In a year, you will have a cult member. But if you ask that person before a year, do you see yourself as a devoted person of very extreme religion? They will say no. We don't know how our feelings change, especially when somebody decides to influence those feelings. That's why when you hear from her, oh, I will never love you again, don't speak to me ever again, get away from my life, start something else, like you are experiencing her emotion at the moment. Do not take this as truth and say, okay, I have no chances. That's it. So that's the mistake number one, is believing those words. But there is another mistake, which is also very important and usually brings conflict, is trying to convince her otherwise. So trying to argue with these words. Because when she says like, you have no chance with me, I never loved you and I will never love you again. If you start arguing with that, all you will create is conflict. And that's one of the biggest problems. People either believe those blank statements, I love that other guy now, you have no chance, or they start arguing with this and trying to pressure. And the more you push, no, and she pushes, and all it creates is more conflict. So what do you do exactly to stop that dynamics? I mean, both options seem wrong. You don't believe those words, but you agree with them for the time being. So only for now you agree with them. Sometimes we feel that if we agree with her saying, I don't want a relationship with you anymore, that we lose our last chance of that relationship. No. All you're doing when you're creating that, you're stopping the fight and letting her guard down, because she said, oh, he finally accepted that. Good. And then when she stops fighting you, it will be easier to slowly for her, turn the situation around so she comes back to her senses, changes her feelings, and changes her mind. So what I'm saying is that if you're trying to do it overtly, trying to argue with her, trying to convince her, this will not work. The worst way of trying to get her back, the worst way of trying to get her back would be ignoring the opportunity at all and not getting her back. Then you are not getting her back for sure. Second worst way would be to trying to convince her mind. So she has an idea in her mind that she will not go back to you. If you try to just argue with that, this will not work. You have to ignite the emotions, ignite the feelings in her, and if the feelings are strong enough, the mind will change itself. It's just like when you sell something. When they sell, they never try to use logical arguments, right? Logical argument is there just in case, so people can convince themselves. I mean, what does really sell the car? The horsepower? No. The design of the car. The car looks cool, that's number one. It looks amazing. It looks, and they also put a girl in the ad, so the car sells well. And then they say the horsepower and other specs. Same here. If you're trying to sell yourself back to her, all the arguments, oh, it will be better for our children if you have children. Oh, look how better am I than him. I will going to change. All the words that you're saying, they won't work. So best thing we can do when she says, I made a decision, I won't be with you anymore, like, the best thing you can do is to agree with that and then use that situation to keep friends. Now, people are very scared sometimes that they will go in so-called friend zone and it will only be seen as a friend. But I'm saying this is a very good temporary option for us to start with. So if all your interactions with her before were you saying, hi, please get back to me, I feel so horrible without you, please give me a chance, we can have an amazing relationship. And she says, oh my God, I told you 100 times, don't contact me, get away from me. And nothing happens, right? She may start blocking you because she feels this irritation. What you can write to her or say to her is the following. Now, please keep attention, because what I'm going to suggest right now is something that you can write in a messenger, but make sure just not to copy my words, change it so it looks like your text. You can also say it verbally if you still communicate, for example, if you have children together or you still live together. But this will temporarily take the fight out of it. What you say to her is, look, I've been thinking and I just wanted to tell you that I agree and I respect your choice. You have chosen to be alone or with another man, depending on the situation. And I respect you, and since I still love you, I want you to be happy. And you have the right to choose your own happiness. And I support you in that. I still love you, and I still want us to be friends, to be able to just talk. I don't want us to be enemies or not to communicate at all. Because when our life is over and we'll be looking back at it, we'll probably regret that we ended up enemies. And I really want us to at least talk sometimes. So if you don't mind, I just want to stay good friends. And sometimes maybe write to each other, but I completely respect your choice. Now, bear in mind that we're not telling the whole truth here. We are not telling her, I don't love you anymore, so you don't have any chance. That would be too much. But we're also not telling her, like, some people think that if they take the situation away from her, somehow, by saying, look, I admit that you have a right to your own choice, that they lose the chance. No. What happens is that she temporarily says, oh, thank God. But it also opens up a way for neutral communication. Now, let me tell you what this neutral communication is. This neutral communication of just friends is just step one. I have good news, very good news for you, and news that seems bad until you understand what it really is. The good news is that it's absolutely possible for her to be in love with you again and want to be with you and nothing else but you. Forget her, all the problems you had before, and be with you, forget another man if there is another man, and be with you 100%. It's absolutely possible. Even if she right now ignores you, even if she is angry at you, even if you're in another town, if she blocked you on all messengers, it's all possible. That's the good news. The bad news is impossible to restore the relationship you had. That relationship is dead. And just admitting that in the form that I said is fine. What you're going to do is you're going to go back to level of just friends, but then in the next step, from just friends, the next step would be friends that flirt with each other a little bit, but it's safe, we're just flirting a little bit. From that, the flirt will start being addictive to her and interesting. Then you'll be her secret while she's with another man or something, that she will always look at her phone if there is a message from you, because we are going to say certain things that really trigger women in that regard and really trigger her romantic feeling and all that, right? And then her desire to be with you will be so strong that it will change her mind as well. So we do it step by step. People think that you can go through from conflict or hate or disappointment right to amazing passion. No, you do it step by step. And if those steps are visible to you but invisible to her, and if they're a little slow, let's say 5 days this, 6 days this, she doesn't see that there is a sequence. For her, it's just changing of her feelings. She finally saw you from another light. That's what we're going to do. But the first step, we need for her to stop being defensive. Let me ask you a question. If she is angry at you and every time you talk to her you get a very aggressive reaction, or let's say you try to talk to her but she always ignores you, what's the common thing between those two reactions? The common thing between those two reactions, they're both ways to protect her from changing her mind. What she's afraid of most is that you will change her mind by talking to her, by convincing you. She gets angry because of that, because anger is one of our best defenses against somebody pushing us towards something. And she may ignore you, which is also one of those defenses. And by the way, if your key problem with her is that she ignores you or she is angry with you, and you want to deal with that in more detail, specifically with that problem, there were so many requests to add a special training about that if that is your problem, click on the link below. Right below this video there is a link about the situation, what to do if she ignores you or if she's being aggressive with you, and there's a special video that will explain more about this situation. But here is what you need to do. If you right now live together, you need to write her, you need to tell her that text which I showed you before, right? If you don't live together, you need to write her on a messenger. If she blocked you on all messengers, the text is almost the same, it's slightly different. What you say is that, look, I'm sorry that my behavior caused you to block me. I realized I was pushy, but now I understand that I respect your choice. And you chose to be with another man, or you chose to build your life alone. I respect you and I love you, and it will be easier for me to get over our love if we're still good friends and sometimes write to each other. So please, could you please give me another chance? This is the message. You take a new SIM card, you create a new account on whatever messenger you do. There's a very easy way. And usually when you write the first message, people see, oh, there's a message from your account towards you, and they can read, and you have one chance. And if you will write this in this way, in this very neutral, very accepting way, she will have to say yes, because you agreed with her finally. When people argue for a long time and there is tension and one of the people finally agrees, yes, right? And I'll tell you what to do next, how often to communicate with her, what to do step by step. But this is the first step. So if you had tension, you relieve this tension, right? Uh, Please don't worry. You're not losing the chance by stopping to trying to directly convince her. You see, if you could directly convince her to change her mind, you wouldn't need this course. You would already be with her. You see, it's not working, right? So tell her that you're not going to try to convince her, that you agree with her choice. Let her relax her defenses. Let you be in a friend zone. Don't worry, we'll get out of it like that, because the next things we're going to write are going to slowly change how she reacts. And step by step, she will get back to that feeling of love, and you will build a new relationship based on that. But the first step is this, okay? And in the next section, we're going to talk about next steps of how it all works, right? If your problem is her blocking you, ignoring you, all right, or fighting with you or being aggressive, please click on the link under this video. It will tell you a lot about what to do in that situation. There's actually a special course about it, like a whole course devoted just to this. You will find out more about it. If you're part of our membership program, you probably already have access to it. So take a look. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.